Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by a former Regional Secretary at the National Union of Teachers, Martin Powell-Davies. Martin, thank you for joining us. Well, look at the scientific modelling then. It shows that schools reopening would not result in a second wave. So then, why not reopen?
Well, that's one particular study from one particular group of researchers. There are other studies. For example, the Independent SAGE group made very clear that they felt that schools would become institutional amplifiers if they opened more widely. But I think the real issue is, whichever researcher is correct, how are we going to know? And the fact is that without the testing and tracking and isolation protocols being in place, then if the numbers start to rise, then we will not be able to keep it under control. And I think that is the real concern. The fact that so many schools have not opened more widely, I think speaks for itself, that parents and schools do not believe what the government is saying. They do not believe that things are safe at this stage.
Well, the government has to strike a balance, don't they? I mean, they can't keep closed. They can't keep the schools closed until there's a vaccine, because parents need to work, don't they, to keep the economy going, and also the kids need to study.
No one's expecting there to be a vaccine, and teachers, believe me, would like to be back at work teaching face-to-face. But what there does need to be, as everybody understands in terms of public health basics, there's got to be testing and tracking and isolation. And frankly, the government needs to, instead of trying to open a lockdown, actually get on and do the work that has been done in so many other places correctly. They still haven't got a testing and tracking system that's likely now to be open until probably September. So how on earth they can be talking about opening schools more widely now, we don't understand, and we don't think it's safe.
Well, the government, as they say, follow the science. That's what they've been saying all along. And some research shows that children are less prone to the virus and therefore better off in school.
Well, they're clearly less prone to the virus, but I think, again, they've been rather economical with the truth there. What is very clear from the research is that they may be less prone, but they're very likely to transmit it. And the concern is the wider impact that will have on the wider community. Even that research from the University of Warwick that was saying that primary school opening on itself may not have a big effect on the reproduction number was saying alongside other points that it would. And of course the issue is that they want to open the schools up so that workplaces can also work up. So you're going to have a combination of all these factors brought together, children being brought into schools, transmitting the virus and then bringing it back to their families and their parents, at the same time as those families are also going to be back in work mixing as well. I think that is a very dangerous situation, which again, without other precautions being in place, really does risk a second wave here in Britain.
Martin, very briefly, if you would. I mean, looking at the school closures, they do increase the gap between rich and poor pupils who have no access to the internet and laptops at a time when we are discussing inequalities, aren't we?
So if the government was serious, they wouldn't be closing down the free school meal vouchers, which they are. They would have been delivering on additional routers and broadband, which they promised and haven't delivered. Things should be being put in place. We want that to be in place. That's why schools have been open for those priority pupils. We understand that, but the government, instead of just talking, has to act. And they're the ones that need to act in order for things to be safe.
Martin Powell-Davies, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.